Good morning everyone. We will be starting our CS1 revision lectures. Okay. Now before we start anything, okay, the first thing is our CS1 examination. Because we are going to write everything in Word, what happens is you can use two methods. One would be there is something called as equation editor. You can use equation editor to write your answers, or you can actually you can even use IFOA formula sheet and use them. I'll be showing you both those ways in using a lot of different questions. Okay. And we are going to talk about both those ways. Anytime you have any confusion, you can write it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and you can ask me. Okay. Now let's start. Now whenever we are looking at our probability distribution, first of all I forgot to write here, this is theta and this is theta into 1 minus theta. Okay, so anyways, whenever we are talking about probability distributions, we have four things to take into account: PDF, then its possible values, mean and variance. Okay, so we need probabilities, we need to know what are the possible values, and we need to know mean and variances. Now of course everything is given in your table book, okay, that you can refer anytime in the examination, but I have just written them together so that we can compare distributions. Okay, so these are the distributions that you can refer to in your examination anytime, but I'm hoping that majority of the distribution and their mean and the variance you may remember. Okay. So we know about binomial distribution, we know about Bernoulli's, geometric. Okay, so we know, but the main problem that I have seen with the students is recognizing which one to use when. Always remember, in your given information, if they have given you total number of trials and they have given you the probability of your success, so that means n is given and theta is given, and they are asking you to find the number of successes, then we go for binomial distribution. In geometric, they will never give you the total number of trials. They will always say we are looking for the first success, or number of failures before our first success. Okay, so you have to look for those kind of things. If they say what is the probability of getting your first success in this first trial, okay, so the term first success in this particular trial, that makes it nothing but geometric distribution. Negative binomial distribution, we are talking about kth success. We are talking about the number of the trial that is going to give you the kth success. Again the same thing, instead of taking first success, we are talking about the kth success. So you have to look for those terms whenever you are looking for an answer for these kind of questions. Poisson distribution, they will always give you some kind of rate, something per time. If rate is given, then we are talking about Poisson distribution. If we have discrete and if we have continuous, then it becomes nothing but an exponential distribution. Okay. Now for continuous distribution, at least for exponential distribution, you should know its capital F. So capital F for exponential distribution It's nothing but 1 minus e raised to minus lambda x. We use that a lot, so you should remember that. Okay. Then chi-square distribution, whenever we actually do not need PDF of chi-square, normal or log normal, these are the three terms that we actually do not need. But you should always remember that if you want to find the PDF of chi-square distribution, all you have to do is, from gamma distribution, you have to put alpha is equals to nu by 2 and lambda is equals to half. Okay. That is our special case. Okay. Now, mostly knowing about the distributions, I don't think there will be any problem here. Okay. It's about finding probabilities. Now, for finding probability, especially if you have binomial distribution and you have a large value, okay, so we use binomial approximation. Now, we have three kinds of values that we need to take into account whenever we are talking about binomial approximation, or approximation to binomial distribution. Okay, so for that, if n is large, for our examination purposes, we assume large means nothing but greater or equal to 100. In practical life, large means really large value, that would be thousands or even lakhs of values. Okay, but in examination, greater or equal to 100, we assume n is large. Now, we do not just want n large, but we also want theta to be small. So we check whether theta is small. Theta small, the values of theta is always between 0 and 1, so you may feel 0.9 is also small. Okay, so we always take a relative value relative to n. So we say n theta must be less than 5, or maybe up to 5. Equal to 5, you can take it as Poisson distribution as well. So if that is the case, then you say that your binomial distribution is going to follow Poisson distribution with your lambda being n theta. Okay. Now you can check whether your n1 minus theta is also small. So what happens is, whenever we are taking an approximation into consideration, we are saying that if our values are symmetric enough, then we will be using normal distribution, that is our CLT. Okay. Whereas if it is positively skewed or negatively skewed, we cannot take normal approximation for binomial distribution. So we are going for Poisson approximation. Okay. So Poisson approximation, we have, if the values are more of positively skewed, it would be x follows Poisson distribution. If it is negatively skewed, the graph looks something like this, then we should take Poisson distribution, but not for x. Okay, I have written it. This happens if you make such sheets in the last minute. I have not checked if there are mistakes. It should be n minus x. So the distribution of n minus x will then follow. Sorry, this is correct here. Okay, here we have n minus x will follow binomial distribution n comma 1 minus theta. That would follow Poisson distribution with n 1 minus lambda, 1 minus theta. So how do we figure out whether it is negatively skewed? We check whether n 1 minus theta is less than 5. Okay, if n 1 minus theta is less than 5, even then we will convert it into Poisson distribution, but not our number of successes, but we are going to take number of failures also as binomial distribution, and that gives us another Poisson distribution. Okay, so because Poisson distribution is always positively skewed, so we are converting it into a positively skewed distribution. Okay, so you would always check whether n theta is less than 5 or n 1 minus theta is less than 5. If that is the case, then you are converting it into Poisson distribution. But if that is not the case, if n theta is greater than 5 as well as n1 minus theta is greater than 5, then we use normal approximation. But that comes in CLT chapter 5. I think chapter 5. So we will be using continuity correction as well. So I'm not going to talk about it right now. We'll be talking about it with that chapter. Okay. Then if you want to find probabilities for Poisson distribution, this is a very important relationship that you should take into account. Okay. Probability of next value is nothing but lambda by n times the previous value. Okay. So this is an important relationship for finding probabilities of Poisson distribution. For gamma distribution, we convert it into chi-square distribution to find probabilities. Because we have tables of chi-square distribution, we cannot create tables of gamma distribution. So that is important. Okay. So if x is following a gamma distribution, then 2 lambda x will follow chi-square distribution with 2 alpha. Whenever we have normal distribution, if you want to find probabilities, you'll have to convert it into standard normal distribution, and if your zk is positive, then and you're finding probabilities less than zk, then you can directly look it at the table normal distribution. That would be page number 160. This is our normal distribution. So this phi x is nothing but our probability less than. How do we figure that out? Just look at the graph. Okay, graph shows you that the shaded region is less than this x. Okay. Then if you want probability greater than, all you have to do is 1 minus. For negative values, we have 1 minus phi of positive value as well as phi zk. So this is something I am expecting you all are very good at, finding probability, especially for normal distribution. For log normal distribution, we'll convert it into normal and then we'll convert it into standard normal, and then find probabilities using standard normal distribution. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that the students make in log normal distribution question is that if they give a question something like the expected value of log normal is so and so, let's say is 9, and variance is, let's say, 27. I'm not sure what values will this give, I'm just taking an example. Then students write x follows log normal 9 comma 27. This is wrong, because mu and sigma square are not the mean and the variance of log normal distribution. Okay, that is a big mistake students make in the examination. So make sure you don't do such mistakes. It's a very silly mistake, and this is a very straightforward type of a question where you would say that your expected value of log normal distribution is nothing but e raised to mu plus half sigma square. If you do not remember, you have your table book, everything is given. This would be equal to 9, and variance is nothing but e raised to 2 mu plus sigma square into e raised to sigma square minus 1. This would be equal to 27. Okay. Now whenever you are solving this, you have two equations, two unknown. You have mu and sigma square to find. Okay, so for solving, what we do is, this part is nothing but or you can say this part is nothing but square of this part. Okay, so all you do is put 9 square here and you have eliminated one variable. So you will have 9 square e raised to sigma square minus 1 would be equal to 27. Using this you will find sigma square, then using your first equation just find mu. Then you will have your mu and sigma square, and you will continue x follows log normal mu comma sigma square, and then convert it into normal, convert it into standard normal, and then find the probabilities. Okay, so this is something that you should take care of. Do not make mistakes in it. Now see, I have taken a few questions into consideration. Okay. Now first question, consider the random variable x having a distribution with probability density function this. Okay. So this is clearly an unknown distribution. We have not studied this. Okay. Where nu is greater than 0, lambda is greater than 0, and the parameters of the distribution. Show that the cumulative distribution function of x is given by this expression. Okay, so for cumulative we integrate our f of x from a lowest value to a general value of x. So this is one way of writing your equations. Okay, now if you have not studied equation editor before, or you have not practiced equation editor before, even if you know how to use it, do not go for equation editor, because it takes a lot of time. So practice writing your answers in the basic way that IFOA has given, okay, rather than learning equation editor now. Okay, because it would take you few months to practice and get a hold of it and become fast in equation editor, and we do not have few months, we have few days left right now. Okay, so if you feel like you're not fast enough in equation editor, do not use equation editor only. Of course you can use equation editor whenever required. Okay, so like writing integration and stuff, you can definitely use equation editor sometimes. Okay, so it's totally going to be on you how you are going to manage your time. Okay, so for equation editor I will first tell you the shortcut alpha and alter and equal to button, that is your left alter and equal to button will give you this equation editor box, in which here if you want to write integration, you can see you have integration here. You can choose this and you can say that the lower value would be 0, upper value will be x, and you have basic terms here. You can use these basic symbols whenever required, or you can use your Greek letters from here whenever required. Okay, these are the terms that you can use. Okay, or like this I have written without any help of equation editor. Okay, so I have defined nu first with v, lambda with l. Okay, and I have solved it accordingly. Okay, so you can see this 1 minus exp minus lambda x raised to mu, that is what I am getting here. Okay, so you can solve using any method, it is up to you, but I will advise do not go for equation editor if you do not have speed in it. If you do not know all the shortcuts or majority of the shortcuts, do not go for equation editor. Okay, so for integration, first you will specify your limits in the brackets, and then you write your function and then dx. Okay, then I have taken this as t, so this becomes my dt, substituted it, and directly we get this values. After solving the integration, you will put the limits. Like here you can see that I will put the limits. So limits, we write it after the brackets. So it would be 0 comma x, and substituting it here. Now in actuality, for any kind of integration, first would be making a expression of integration, then solving it, showing this step where we put limits, and then finally writing just the answer. Okay, so do not write more than 3 steps in integration. Here, because we had to do the substitution and stuff, that is why it looks like we have written a lot of steps, but it's basically 3 steps only. You do not have to put the limits and show what will it be and then write the final answer. Directly write the final answer. Okay. Then it said determine by simulating a value of random variable x where this is this. Okay, so we want to write down random variable, a simulation of random variable x with uniform value as 0.671. Okay, so we know for random variable simulation what we do is we equate our f of x with u. Okay, substitute to find the value of x, this becomes our x. Again, here you do not have to write a lot, this is more of for explanation purposes. You can write this and directly write this and get your answers here, or even I would prefer that showing this expression and directly writing that x is equals to this would also work. Okay, so we will try to write as less number of steps as possible, because of course it will take more time in typing rather than writing on paper, and for a lot of sum you might have to write it on paper and then type it out. Okay, just because we are more comfortable in paper. Now, claim size in a certain insurance company situation are modeled by a normal distribution with mean this much and standard deviation this much. The insurer defines a claim to be large if the claim size exceeds 35,000. Calculate the probability that the size of the claim exceeds 35,000 and 36,000. So this is basic probability. Okay, we'll convert it into standard normal distribution. I've even written the formula of standard normal distribution here. This is just a good practice, I always do that, it's not actually necessary. Okay, so standard normal distribution, and then you have to find your final answer here. Okay, now whenever you are using tables, okay, it is advisable to use interpolation to find between values, right? Now in this case we directly had 1.25, but you have more decimal points. I take up to 3 decimal points and then find the value. Don't take more than 3 decimal points. Okay, it just does not make much difference if you take 4 decimal points, 5 decimal points, or 6 decimal points. 3 decimal points work as well. Okay. Okay, so for interpolation you may have your own formula. I'll just write one where it would be y2 x minus x1 plus y1 x2 minus x upon x2 minus x1. This is the formula I always give to my students. Okay, this will give you nothing but y. So find out what each values are, okay, and what we have to find, and relatively you will get this formula for interpolation. So in these cases you do not need interpolation because we do not have more than 2 decimal points. This is directly taken from our table book. Okay. Then they are asking us calculate the probability that size of a large claim as defined by the insurer exceeds 36,000. Okay. Now see, reading this, calculate the probability that size of a large claim. So this is the given information that it is a large claim. We want to find that it exceeds 36,000. Okay. So we want probability of x greater than 36,000 given x is greater than 35,000. Okay. So this is a conditional probability. So conditional probability, we will say intersection you can say is and. Okay, so x is greater than 36,000 and x is greater than 35,000 upon x is greater than 35,000. Okay. So when a value is greater than 36,000 and greater than 35,000, that means it is definitely greater than 36,000. So we get probability x greater than 36,000 by probability x greater than 35,000. So we had both the values here, we found. Now I also make my answers bold so that whenever somebody is looking at the solution, their eyes go towards the answers. Okay, but I do that after I have started the next solution, because then you will have to either toggle this bold, control B, because if I start enter and start writing, it will always give me in bold. So what I do is, whenever I've completed the whole question or maybe completed 2-3 questions, and then I come back and make these bold. Okay. Now let's talk about generating functions. In generating functions, actually probability generating function is not in our course anymore, but it's a good practice to know about it. Anyways, it's not part of our course, so I will not be talking about it, because they will not be asking you question about probability generating function. Okay. We have moment generating function and we have cumulative generating function. Okay. So one thing is, this is our series of moment generating function. If you expand, this is how you are going to get those values: 1 plus t times expected value of x plus t square by 2 factorial expected value of x square, and so on. So you can find these values, expected value of x, expected value of x square, or you call it as raw moments, or you just call it as moments. Okay, by expanding this mxt, or you can find those values by differentiating. So differentiating mxt n times and putting t is equals to 0 gives you nothing but moments. Okay. So other than that, you should also know your mxt is expected value of e raised to tx. Okay. Cumulative generating function. Cumulant just means your central moments, that is a mean, median, mean, variance and skewness and so on. Those are all central moments. So cumulative generating function is nothing but log of moment generating function. And if you want to find the nth cumulant, all you have to do is differentiate your cumulant generating function n times and put t is equals to 0. Then linear relationship, again you can skip probability generating function, but this is a linear relationship of moment generating function and cumulant generating function. These you must remember. Many times they used to ask to prove these and then use it, but I'm not expecting them to give you a lot of proofs, especially where we will have to write it in very elaborate terms. So I'm not expecting them to give you proof of this, but at least you should know. Okay, and you should remember these values. Okay. So I'll take a sum into account. Here, see, consider a discrete random variable x with probability function this. show that the moment generating function of the distribution x is given by this. Okay. So we have our f of x, we need to find our moment generating function. So simply we will take our moment generating function to be expected value of e raised to tx. We'll substitute all the values. Now see, this is nothing but a discrete random variable. Even if they did not write discrete word, you should always look at the possible values and understand that it is a discrete random variable. Okay. So we'll say summation for all values of x are e raised to tx into f of x. This is our f of x, I guess so, yeah. This is our f of x. So this is nothing but, we'll combine it and this term becomes nothing but geometric progression. Now identifying whether it is arithmetic progression, geometric progression, or any other like e raised to x or log of x, these are very much important. Okay. So in our table book, they have given you a few series at the beginning, that is page number 2. You have your exponential function, this is very important. You have your log function, this is important. Binomial expansion, important. And when we have our n is negative, or you can say p is negative in this case, that is also very much important. These are very important series and you should know how to use them. Okay. So anyways, this is geometric progression. How do I recognize it? Because the powers are changing. Okay. So this is e raised to t by 5. First it would be raised to 0, that means 1. Then the next would be e raised to t by 5. Then next would be e raised to t by 5 whole square, and so on. So you can see this is nothing but geometric progression. Okay, geometric progression, and therefore use infinite GP, that would be 1 upon 1 minus r, or a upon 1 minus r, and this is what we are going to get, and this is how we can write our mxt, okay, given in the question. Ensure that the moment generating function of the distribution of x is given by this. Okay, then determine expected value of x using moment generating function given in part 1. So expected value of x, all you have to do is differentiate it one time and put t is equals to 0. So first differentiate it one times and then put t is equals to 0, and you will get your mean as 1 by 4. Okay. Similarly, if you had to find expected value of x square, then all you had to do is differentiate it one more times. Okay, so you will have mx dash t, okay, that would be equal to double dash. Okay, so we'll differentiate this one more time. Okay, so in this case you will have to use your what do we say, u by v formula. Okay, and it will be very lengthy to differentiate this. Okay, but if you are looking for variance, if you are trying to find variance, taking cxt, cumulant generating function, would be a little bit easier, and differentiating those values would be a little bit easier. Okay, so if let's say I wanted to find variance, I would prefer using cxt. Our cxt would be nothing but log of mxt, okay, and this was our mxt, so I'll say it would be nothing but log of 4 plus, I can say log of 5 minus e raised to t raised to minus 1 take minus 1 out, and this would be nothing but log of 4 minus log of 5 minus e raised to t. It's always easier to differentiate if we have log value. Okay, now if I differentiate cx dash t, I'll just have 1 by 5 minus e raised to t, minus sign because of this minus, I will have minus sign here, and then I'll differentiate this again and I'll get e raised to minus e raised to t. So it's basically e raised to t by 5 minus t, 5 minus e raised to t. If I want to differentiate it 2 times, this would be easier to differentiate. That becomes e raised to t into 5 minus e raised to t minus, I will have minus e raised to t into e raised to t upon v square, that would be 5 minus e raised to t whole square. Now if I want to find expected value of x, all I have to do is substitute t is equals to 0 here, cx dash 0, if I put t is equals to 0, I'll get 1 upon 5 minus 1, that would be 1 by 4, that is what we got here. Okay, and for variance, all I have to do is cx double dash 0, put t is equals to 0 here, so I'll have 5 minus 1, this became plus 1 upon, I will have 5 minus 1 whole square. So this is basically 5 by 16, that becomes our variance, 5 by 16. So this is how you will find expected value and variance, or expected value of x square, these kind of values using mxt and cxt. Okay, then one thing always remember, your mx0 is going to be equal to 1. This is something that everybody forgets to remember. This is useful sometimes, especially in this year's UK paper, that I'll just show you. I think I have UK paper, yeah. Okay, so first of all, this year's UK paper, there were a lot of MCQs. Now I don't know whether Indian paper will also have MCQs, but I'm expecting yes, because CS1 is one subject where MCQs can be created very easily, and it would be not the difficulty level will not be a lot different if you create MCQs. Okay, so we had a lot of MCQs here, so that what happened was the paper was much easier to write in Word rather than our normal paper. Okay, so they will definitely give some MCQs. If not MCQs, they will give you objectives. Now see, MCQs and objectives, what are the differences? Objectives may not have options. Okay, so objectives may not have options. So what happens is, they would give you something like, write the formula for this, or write the answer of this. Do not solve it, just write the answer. They can give you such questions as well. Okay, because they understand writing elaborate equations may not be possible when we are solving paper in Word. So here these were just probability questions, and this was Bayes theorem probability questions. Okay, Then this was our mxt question, okay, or myt. Let's solve this. They are saying a random variable y has a probability density function this where a, b are positive constants. Okay, the moment generating function of y is denoted by myt. Write down the bounds of the integration required to calculate myt. Okay, so here you can see this is we have to write the bounds of the integration. We have to just write the limits of the integration and then identify which one of the following option gives the correct expression for myt. So all you have to do is select from one of these. Your answer here is going to be just your limits. Here it is going to be whatever your mxt final answer is going to be. You will have to write a1, a2, a3, a4. Okay. Then they are saying write down the condition on t for myt to be finite and then determine an expression giving a constant a in terms of b using your answer in myt. Okay. So if you want to solve this, okay, so first of all, what was the expression? Okay, so f of y is a e raised to minus 5y where y is greater than b. This is our f. If you want to write myt, that would be nothing but expected value of e raised to ty. That would be integration from b to infinity. We will have our a e raised to minus 5y e raised to ty dy. Whenever you have infinite in your limits, you should know that your value will be infinite if you have e raised to positive infinity, or anything raised to positive infinity will be nothing but infinite if a is greater than 1. If a is greater than 1, then a raised to infinity becomes nothing but infinity. But e raised to minus infinity or a raised to minus infinity, when a is greater than 1, these terms are going to be nothing but 0. So therefore what we do is we try to make minus infinity here. So for that what we will do is we will keep these value with a negative sign. So I will take a out, integration, and I'll say e raised to, this is nothing but minus 5 minus t y. That is why I've kept this minus sign, and this value must be a positive value. That is the point here. Okay, dy. So I'll be able to substitute this as e raised to minus 5 minus t y upon minus 5 minus t, and put the limits only if t, this 5 minus t, is a positive value. Only then this would be a legitimate integration, or we will be able to substitute our values. So I'll have a. If I substitute infinite, it would be 0. If I substitute b, it is going to be just b, and minus sign will go away because it would be a lower limit. So this becomes nothing but e raised to minus 5 minus t b upon 5 minus t, where our t must be less than 5. Okay, so this is our myt. So we'll go for the options. Here write down the bounds. We know bounds was b to infinity, so you'll just write b to infinity. Then identify which one of the following option gives you the correct expression. So this seems to be the correct answer, so you'll just write a4. Okay. Then they are saying write down the condition on t for m by t to be finite. So for that you will say t is less than 5. And last one, determine an expression giving a constant a in terms of b using your answer for m by t in part 2. Okay. So this is our m by t. We have to write a in terms of b. The easiest way would be using t is equals to 0, that means m by 0, this will always be equal to 1. This is an expression that we know. So I'll just put t is equals to 0. So I'll get a e raised to minus 5b upon 5. This is equal to 1. So clearly a is nothing but 5 e raised to 5b. This is your answer. So you can see you do not have to write a lot of things in your answer if they give you questions like this. And I am expecting that Indian paper will also look something like this. Okay. Where you will have some MCQs, you will have some one-line answers, even though you will have to solve it on paper. Okay. Let's move on to our next chapter, that is a joint distribution. In joint distribution, you have to take care of all of these formulas. You'll have to remember these formulas. Okay, so basically sum of all probabilities is 1. How to find our CDF? Okay. Then marginal distributions, conditional distributions, and expectations. These are the basic formulas that you will have to remember. Other than that, you need covariance formulas. Covariance is nothing but expected value of xy minus expected value of x into expected value of y. Correlation coefficient is this. Although our method of solving in chapter 10 is much better than using this, but if covariance is given, variance of x and y is given, then definitely this will be good. Okay. Then independence we say that if x and y are independent, then probability joint distribution of x and y must be equal to probability marginal of x and probability marginal of y. Okay. Or you can say for continuous, our PDFs of joint must be equal to PDF of x into PDF of y. This works for cumulative as well. Your capital F of x comma y, if that is equal to capital F of x into capital F of y, that would also work. Okay. But we don't usually use it, that is why I have not written here. If that happens, then our correlation and covariance both are going to be 0, and therefore our expected value of xy will be equal to expected value of x into expected value. Now if you want to find independence, then only probability works. So only probability has vice versa. That means if probabilities are equal, then we can say that x and y are independent. But these do not imply that x and y are independent, because these are for linear correlation. They do not talk about any other form of correlation. If we have curved correlation, if we have squared correlation, cubic correlation, we may still find our correlation coefficient or covariance being 0, but that does not mean that x and y are independent. They only talk about linear dependency. They do not talk about overall independence. Okay. So whenever you are trying to prove x and y are independent, you need only probabilities. You cannot prove it using these terms. Okay. Then using independence and your moment generating function, you can prove these particular formulas. These are very important. Okay. So you should know how to prove these formulas, as well as you should remember all of these formulas as well. Okay. That means if you combine multiple Bernoulli's distribution, then you get a binomial distribution. If you combine two binomial distribution with the same probability, then you get another binomial distribution. If you combine multiple geometric, you get a negative binomial. If you combine two negative binomial, again keeping probability constant, then you get a negative binomial. Multiple exponential gives you gamma. Multiple gamma with the same lambda would give you another gamma. Okay. Then 2 chi-square combined to give you another chi-square. 2 Poisson gives you another Poisson, and 2 normal added or subtracted will give you this. Here remember that the mean will add or subtract depending on here, but the variances will only add. Okay, variances will only add. These are all going to be independent distributions. Only then you will be able to add them up. Okay. Proving these are important, as well as remembering these are also important. Okay, I have taken a CGF question as well. Okay, let's do this linear okay, let's do this linear sum, and then we'll go to our chapter 3 sum. Okay, so here they are saying let x be a random variable with the moment generating function mxt and cumulant generating function cxt. Let y is equals to ax plus b, where a and b are constants. Let y have the moment generating function myt and the cumulating generating function cyt. Show that cyt will be equal to this. See, here they are asking you to show it. Okay. Find the coefficient of skewness of y in the case of mxt being this, okay, and y being this. First of all, coefficient of skewness is going to be skewness upon standard deviation cube. This is how we find coefficient of skewness. You should remember this formula. Okay. And for skewness, we will use our cyt. So first of all, your myt is this. Then we can take bt out. It's just constant, e raised to bt will be this. So instead of t, we will have at. So here mxat and e raised to bt. Then for cumulative generating function, you will take log of both. So you will get bt log of mxt. Log of mxt is nothing but cxat rather in this case. So this becomes your relationship. Okay. Now cyt, all you have to do is substitute this value. Okay, so cyt is going to be 2t log of this. Instead of t, I will have at. Okay, so 3t. And then if you want cumulant, if you want skewness, you have to find your triple differentiation. So first time differentiation, second time differentiation, third time differentiation. Put t is equals to 0 and you will get skewness. Coefficient of skewness is this much divided by this much. We get this from variance. Put t is equals to 0 here. Your variance is going to be 18. So standard deviation would be root 18, or you can say it would be 18 raised to 3 by 2 when your finding standard deviation cube. So this gives you coefficient of skewness. Okay, and let's go to the joint distribution. In joint distribution, a random variable x and y have joint probability distribution with density function this. Now this is a typical type of a question where you may have x and y such that they are dependent on each other. Okay. So 0 less than y less than x less than 1. This just means that y goes from 0 to x and x goes from y to 1. They are dependent on each other. So here first, if you want to find marginal distributions, marginal densities, you will have to take into account these limits. Okay, so you can see for f of x, you take limits of y, all values of y, so going from 0 to x, and then f of xy, okay, dy. So that gives you nothing but this. Okay, so the limits are important whenever you are doing these kind of sums. And for f of y marginal, you can see you will put all values of x. So all values of x, that would be 1 to y to 1. You're asking what is the general formula to find coefficient of skewness. This is the general formula to find coefficient of skewness. Skewness upon standard deviation square, standard deviation cube. Okay, don't go for any kind of logic or anything. There are many different ways of finding coefficient of skewness. This is the most common one. Okay, there are more ways, but this is the, whenever they have not mentioned any formula for coefficient of skewness, then use this skewness upon standard deviation cube. Okay, let's get back here. Okay, now they are asking us state with reason whether x and y are independent. We'll always check whether our this value is nothing but this into this. So clearly in our f of xy we do not have any y, whereas when we multiply these two we will have y. Okay, so clearly we will not be able to eliminate y, and we can say that they are not independent of each other. Okay, so you can directly write like this, that f of x, f of y is not equal to f of xy, and therefore they are not independent. Okay. You don't need to show that it is not making it into 3 of x. Okay. Okay, so again range, whenever you find marginal distribution, if you are writing f of x is nothing but for all values of y. So integrate for all values of y, your f of xy dy. So if you integrate for all values of y, you get marginal for x. So for all values of y, here y value is between 0 to x. So we will be substituting 0 to x. That is what you are seeing here. For x, for finding marginal of y, we say f of y would be integration for all values of x or joint distribution. Okay. So for all values of x, that makes the limit of x being this from y to 1. Okay, so therefore I'll be putting y to 1. Okay, Now see what happens is these value they are saying for x between 0 to 1, for y between 0 to 1. Why are they doing this? Okay, so that is the confusion, I understand. Now what happens is this says if you have put all values of y, okay, and the minimum value of x was y. So what is the minimum value of x after substituting all values of y? What is the minimum value of x after substituting all values of y? It is going to be the minimum value of y. So that is why after you have substituted all values of y, your value of x is going from 0 to 1. Is it clear? Same thing when you have substituted all values of x, your all values of x was going from y to 1. Now you have distribution of y, What would be the maximum value of y? Minimum value we know of y, that is 0. What would be the maximum value? Maximum value is x, right? But because we have substituted all values of x, what would be the maximum value of y now? It would be the maximum value of x, that would be 1. So therefore y is going from 0 to 1 because we have substituted all values of x here. That is why if you are finding now expectation, like here, you would be taking limits now 0 to 1, here also limits 0 to 1. Okay, so it's just logical. If you think it that ways, you will always get that kind of question. Okay, so that is why if I want to find let's say sum of all probabilities that my double integration of joint distribution will be equal to 1. So for that I will be taking integration my f of x comma y dy dx would be equal to 1. So for this, let's say I am integrating y first. So what we will be doing is we are going to put the values of y first. So if I substitute the value of y first, 0 to x, then for the second integration I need values of x. Now because y has been substituted, therefore value of x is going to be between 0 to 1. Because the same reason, value of y has been substituted, so minimum value of y will now be the minimum value of x. Okay. Same way if I write it in the different form where I am integrating x first, dx dy, then my integration will first take values of x. Values of x will go from y to 1. Okay, but because we have substituted values of x now, the second integration will go from 0 to 1. Okay, this is how we determine the limits when they are dependent on each other. Okay, when they are dependent on each other. So expected value, you can directly use marginal distribution to find expected value. So these questions are usually very simple. You may have such questions where you have discrete distribution. Okay, so consider random variable. Now to solve this, what I have done is I have made another table here, same table, and then taken marginal values, okay, marginal values, and they are asking us calculate the probability that a random selected person does more than 2 hours of exercise per week. So more than 2 hours was nothing but represented by 2. Okay, I think that is what they are saying. Consider a random variable x taking the value x is equals to 1 if the randomly selected person is a smoker, or x is equal to 0 otherwise. The random variable y describes the amount of physical exercise per week for this randomly selected person. It takes the value 0, okay, less than 1 hour of exercise per week, 1 or 1 to 2 hours, and 2 more than 2 hours of exercise per week. The random variable r that is given by this is used as a risk index for a particular heart disease. The joint distribution of x and y is given by the joint probability function of the following table. Okay, calculate the probability that a randomly selected person does more than 2 hours of exercise. Randomly selected, so might be a smoker, might not be a smoker, does not matter. So we'll be adding up these probabilities, and therefore you are getting 0.3 here. Okay. Then for the second one, they are asking us decide whether x and y are independent or not. So for that we'll require our marginal distribution. Okay. Now whenever in this kind of joint distribution, if you're trying to prove that there is an they are independent, then you will have to show each and every relationship. Okay, but if they are not independent, then it is very simple that you have to just take one into account where they do not follow the pattern where x is equals to c. For 0, 0, x is equals to 0, y is equals to 0. Here I should have written, okay, multiplication. Okay, multiplication of these two values is this, which is not equal to. This is a way you can write not equal to, that would be exclamation and equal to, or you can use the word not equal to whenever you are writing. Or if you use equation editor, or just for not equal to, what you can do is take alter equal to, and then you can see here not equal to sign. You can just use this directly and then move out of the equation editor and keep writing your answers. Okay. After moving out of equation editor. Okay, so you can use just basic symbols from equation editor. Okay, especially not equal to is one of the symbol that you can use whenever required. Hence x and y are not independent. Okay. Then the third part, derive the probability function of r. So there is a relationship of r. This is a relationship of r, and we need to find probability function for r, probability distribution function for r. So for that, all you have to do is substitute the value of x and y individually. So first, x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0. We'll substitute whatever value you get. The probability of that value is going to be the joint value here. So for that, I have made a table here. I have substituted when x is 0, y is 0, I get r is equals to 9. The probability for x0, y0 was 0.2. So probability for r equal to 9 will also be 0.2. 0, 1, 4, and therefore the value is 0.3. Okay. 0, 2, you will get 1, and 0, 2, probability is 0.25. Substitute it here, and that is how you will get your distribution. I have rearranged it so that it becomes in ascending order and return the probabilities accordingly. Then they are asking us to find the expected value. Calculate the expectation of r. So expected value, we know how to calculate expected value. Now see, this is how you can write it. Sum for all values of r, or you can say r is equal r going from 1 to 18, but clearly middle values are not taken into account. So I've just written all values of r, and this is the function that we are adding up. Okay, that would be equal to 5.95. Okay, and I've taken similar kind of question here where our limits were dependent on each other. Okay, so this is how I have written integration part. Okay, integration. Now see, they are saying show that k is equals to 18. That means we'll have to integrate, double integrate to show that equal to 1, sum of all probabilities. Okay, sum of all probabilities. So we have integration 0 comma 1 and then integration 0 comma y. So I'm doing x integration first and then y integration. That is why limits of x are inside and then limits of y will be 0 to 1. Okay, and using that we get k is equals to 18. Okay, okay. Then they are asking us determine f of y marginal density function of y. Marginal density function will integrate for all values of x. So x going from 0 to y, f of xy dx. Okay, so that gives you these. Then they are asking us marginal conditional probabilities. Okay, conditional probability that x is greater than 0.5 given that y is equal to 0.75. So for conditional the condition will always be equal to, it will not be greater than, less than, because we want a constant value in the condition. Okay, so y is equals to 0.75 greater than x greater than 0.5. See, that just means that we are going to integrate from 0.5 to the maximum value of x was y. In this case y is nothing but 0.75. 0.75. This would be integration of nothing but a conditional probability. Okay, now we know the limits, but we will also integrate nothing but conditional probability. Okay, so that would be joint divided by density function of f of y is equals to 0.75. So in your density function of y, all you have to do is put 0.75 as y. Here you will put y is equals to 0.75. Here you will put y is equals to 0.75. Okay, so this is what you will be getting. Okay, here also you will put y is equals to 0.75. Here also y is equals to 0.75, and this is the value you get. And then substitute the values of x, and you'll get this probability. So these are the difficult type of questions in joint distribution. Let's move on to conditional expectation. The conditional expectation used to be a large chapter. They have removed a lot of the difficult part out of it. Okay, this is nothing but variance and covariance formulas. Okay, that also you have to remember from chapter 3. Okay, first I'll talk about variance and covariance formulas. Okay, here covariance of x plus or minus y, you can separate the covariances individually. Whenever you have constants multiplied, constants come out of the covariance. Covariance of same variable gives you nothing but the variance. Okay. And therefore, using these two conditions, this can be written in this form. And using all of these three conditions, you can prove variance of x plus or y, or plus or minus y, would give you addition of both variance plus or minus 2 times covariance. And that is why if x and y are independent, our covariance becomes 0, and addition or subtraction will only give you addition of variance plus addition of variances. It's never subtraction of variances. Now let's talk about conditional expectation. In conditional expectation, we have very little formulas. Literally, these are the only formulas that you have to take into consideration. Conditional probability for discrete and continuous. Okay. Then conditional expectation. Okay. Then conditional variance. Conditional variance, y given x would be nothing but expected value of y square given x minus expected value of y given x whole square. Same thing for both of them. Then unconditional in which you will say expected value of y will give you expected value of y given x, double expectation. And unconditional variance would be this particular formula. So you will have to remember literally only two formulas to solve this kind of conditional expectation questions. See here, conditional expectation. The score on the final exam in Varun's risk management class have a normal distribution with mean theta and standard deviation equal to 8. Theta is a normal distribution. Theta is normally distributed random variable with mean equal to 75 and variance equal to 36. Each year, Varun chooses a student at random and pays the student equal to the student's score. However, if the student fails the examination, that is less than 65, then there is no payment. Calculate the conditional probability that the payment is less than 90 given that there is a payment. So they said given that there is a payment, so we are considering only students that are scoring more than 65. Okay. So therefore the payment will occur if probability of the score is greater than less than 90 given greater than 65. This is what we need to find. Okay. So first what we'll do is we'll find expected value of x. Writing this solution, I have missed an expectation, so this will be expected value of s given theta. Okay. This would be expected value of s given theta. Okay, that is nothing but, because s given theta, expected value is nothing but theta. See, first of all, for at least our own convenience, you should write the distributions. That is not necessary in the examination, but I prefer writing the distribution. So I would say score s follows normal distribution with mean theta, comma standard deviation as 8, so 8 square, and theta follows normal distribution with mean as 75 and variance equal to 36. Okay. Now remember, this score will be following normal distribution only if theta is a constant value. So therefore this is nothing but S given theta. For a given value of theta only it will be following a normal distribution. So therefore expected value of S given theta becomes theta and variance becomes 64. Okay. And expected value of theta would be 75, variance of theta would be 36. So therefore expected value of S given theta, that would give you expected value of theta, and that would be 75. Okay. Then variance, this is the formula for variance, and we'll get variance as 100. Now if you want to find probability, you will have to treat it as a distribution. We just have expected value and we just have variances, and whenever we have just expected value and variances, CLT says we can convert it into normal distribution. Okay, just CLT or normal approximation or whatever. Anyways, any type of combination of normal distribution usually gives us another normal distribution. Okay, so we have combination of two normal distribution, that also is giving us a normal distribution here. Okay, we do not have to prove those kind of things. We'll just say by approximation, normal approximation you can say, or using CLT you can say that our score would be following normal distribution with expected value of S and variance of S as its parameter, and then you have to find your probability. Okay. So this becomes the final answer. Okay. So these kind of questions you may get in conditional expectation. Here also I have taken the same question, but I have written it in this form without, what do we say, without equation editor. Okay, Akhil, you have a doubt in conditional expectation chapter? Okay, I'll just
Yes, sir.
so I'll stop my presentation and you can present your screen. Okay.
Yes, sir. So question number 1 in this.
Okay, question number 1. Let me just a fair die is rolled repeatedly. Let X be the number of rolls needed to obtain a 5 and Y be the number of rolls needed to obtain a 6. Calculate expected value of X given Y is equals to 2. Okay, a fair die is rolled repeatedly. Let X be the number of rolls needed to obtain a 5 and okay, now see, these become nothing but what do we say, geometric distribution. See, let X be the number of rolls needed to obtain a 5. If we assume 5 as a success, then
Okay, sir.
that becomes nothing but a geometric distribution. We are counting the number of rolls till the first success. Same way, Y will also be a geometric distribution, and that would be nothing but 6. Okay, so I understand the question. I'll just try to solve it. Okay, so I will stop your presentation and will present mine.
Okay, sir.
Now so they are asking us to find expected value of x given y is equals to 2. So we'll say x follows geometric distribution with probability being equal to 1 by 6, as well as y follows geometric distribution with theta being again 1 by 6. Okay. Now expected value of x given y, expected value of x given y is equals to 2 is going to be nothing but, we'll take summation for all values of x into probability of x given, probability x is equals to x given y is equals to 2. Okay, so this would be probability x is equals to x and y is equals to 2 upon probability of, actually because they are independent of each other, I can directly say that these are nothing but, this is nothing but probability of x is equals to x. Right, because they are independent of each other. So we'll have nothing but expected value of geometric distribution. Okay. And expected value of geometric distribution would be 1 by 6, and that would be 1 by theta, that would be equal to 6. Was this the answer?
So answer is answer is a 6.6.
6.6.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Actually,
okay, let me just see one thing. Okay, this is what they are asking us to find. Geometric. Expected value will be, now see, if I make it into a joint distribution, y is equals to 2 by probability y is equals to 2, these are independent of each other, and that is why y is equal to 2, x is equals to x. They are not talking about the same dice, right? They are just talking about two different rolls.
Yes, sir. They're saying a fair die is rolled repeatedly.
Yes. To get the first 5, right? And first 6.
Just
just read the question again.
A fair die is rolled repeatedly. Let x be the number of rolls needed to obtain a 5 and y the number of rolls needed to obtain a 6. Calculate expected value of x given y is equal to 2.
Needed to obtain a 5 and needed to obtain a 6, right? Repeatedly needed to obtain a 5 and needed to obtain a 6. So they are geometric distribution. That is okay. Expected value yeah, this seems okay. These will cancel out, and therefore we'll just have summation for all values of x. This, the answer is 6.66. That means they are basically saying 6 by 9 is our answer, right? To get 6 by 9, I don't see that to be the answer. I feel like this is just expected value of x, right? Because they are independent of each other, that should not affect the value of x.
So like answer is given, but I am also not able to understand it.
Yeah.
Should I share the screen, sir, once again?
Yeah, show the
Show them.
solution. I may be able to see my mistake. So they are saying x follows a geometric distribution, okay, and y is equals to t. 2 implies the first roll is not a 6 and the second roll, see, that is what I was asking, that whether they are independent or not. They are not independent because they are saying it's the same roll of dice, okay. This means a 5 is obtained from the first time in the first roll, probability is equal to 0.2 for the first time on the third or later roll. Yep. So basically now I understand. I'll explain, just give me 1 minute, okay. Okay, now here what they have said is that our first 6 came at roll 2, okay. So we know that our first roll may be anything from 1 to 5, it is not a 6, okay. Then this is our first roll. Then our second roll is definitely 6, okay. Third roll or anything other than third roll, okay, greater than or equal to third roll, these all can be 1 to 6, no problem there, okay. So probability that my first roll would be 5, okay, so probability that my first roll would be 5 is nothing but you can say 1 by 5. Probability of my first roll being 5 is 1 by 5. Second roll is definitely not 5. Third roll being probability would be nothing but 1 by 6, okay, and so on. So if I want to find probability that x is equals to 5 given y is equals to 2, okay, not probability, sorry, expectation, I would need to take into account my value is 1 into probability of it being 1 is 1 by 5 plus it cannot be 2, then 3, or further I will say addition, let's say I going from 3 to infinity, probability is 1 by 6 into I, okay. So this is going to be 1 by 5 plus 1 by 6 comes out, and addition from 3 to infinity.
Sir, you are mute.
Okay, I was mute. I'll explain again. Now see, in this question they are saying that possible values in our first roll is going to be only 1 by 5 because it is definitely not 6, because they said that the number 6 comes, the first number 6 comes in our second roll. So we know that possibility is anything 1 to 5. So probability of it being 5 would be 1 by 5. Whereas second roll is definitely 6. So probability of being 5 is 0. And any roll that is greater than 3, the probability of that being exactly that whatever value we are saying is going to be nothing but 1 by 6, or you can say it is going to follow a geometric distribution. Okay, so I should not even write probability like this. Okay, it's going to follow geometric distribution after roll 3. Okay, so therefore you can say probability of it being expected value that it x is equals to 5, or whatever value, no, whatever x is equals to x given y was equal to 2. So the possible value of 5 being 1 is going to be this 1 into 1 by 5. The possible number of rolls being 2 is 0. Okay, so we'll not add that. And the roll being 3 or more, the probability of that is going to be nothing but a geometric distribution. That would be summation, let's say x is equals to 3 to infinity. We'll have 1 minus theta raised to our x minus 1 into theta. Okay, or you can say it would be 5 by 6 raised to x minus 1 into 1 by 6. Okay, so 1 by 6, and this is geometric progression, infinite GP, where we are starting from 5 by 6 square is going to be our first value into 1 by 6. This is our a, and then we'll have 1 upon 1 minus 5 by 6. We are getting 1 by 5 plus 1 by 6, 5 by 6 whole square, 6 by 1. Okay, I think this is how we'll have to solve it. And 1 by 5 plus 25 by 36. Maybe not, I'm not sure. Let's use calculator to figure it out. I'm not getting the same expected value. Okay, I forgot to write x here, x into this, right? It's not going to be geometric progression, it's going to be AGP. Or instead of that, what you can do is you can say, rather than using AGP, you can actually write this as expected value of x, that is our geometric distribution, given x is greater than 2. Okay, and because geometric distribution follows memoryless property, okay, memoryless property, therefore what would happen, we will skip the first two values and we will say this is nothing but expected value of x plus 2. This is what I think we'll get. It's like expected value starting from 3 to infinity, so plus 3, I think. We geometric distribution will start from 1, so I think plus 2. Expected value of geometric distribution is going to be 1 by 6, or it would be 6 plus 2, or I think it will just be 6. It will take 6 turns, but starting from x is equals to 3, so I think it should be plus 2, maybe. Let's see what do we get here. This is definitely 8 and more than 8. If that is not the case, is this what we are getting?
Yes.
Plus 1 by 5, 6.2. Okay, so here we are getting 6.2, but we want 6.66, right? Expected value of x given x is greater than 2. So for that, expected value of x intersection x greater than 2 upon probability of x greater than 2. Okay, so it's going to be, okay, now I get it. I think it will be 8 divided by probability of x greater than 2. Probability of x greater than 2 is going to be 1 minus theta raised to 2. Let me check this out. See, because I'm saying that expected value, this is the final step, 0.2, this is 0.2, okay, plus 8 into 0.8. I understand this 8. I'm just trying to figure out how do we get 0.8. See, expected value of have they taken 1 by 5? Capacity 1 by 5. Okay. Okay, so I think what they are saying is there is a 1/5 chance that our value of 5 will come in our first roll, whereas there is 4/5 chance that our value is going to be greater than 3. So that is expected value of x being equal to greater or equal to 3. Okay, or you can say it's nothing but expected value of x given x is greater than 2. Okay, so this is what they are saying, an expected value of x, because it is an geometric distribution where we have memoryless property. Therefore expected value of x given x is greater than 2, that means expected value will just shift by 2. So expected value of x is actually 6. So because it is going to be shifting by 2, therefore it becomes nothing but 8, because it's just like our value is starting from 3 instead of 1. Okay, so therefore we are getting 4 by 5 times 8, and that is giving us 6.66. I was just trying to figure out that how would we write probability for this. That was the problem. Okay, so this is using memoryless property. The problem is that we do not have a lot of such sums, so that is why yeah, that is what I was saying. Because of memoryless property, our distribution will give us the same expectation, but it is going to not start from 1, it is going to start from 3. So our distribution has shifted. Okay, so instead of our distribution starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on, if the distribution looked something like this, now the distribution exactly same, but it is starting from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and so on. So what happens is, previously this was our expected value, that was 6, but now the expected value becomes 8 because it is just shifted. So because of memoryless property, there is no change in the distribution, but it has just been shifted. We are ignoring the first two values. That's the point here, right? Memoryless property. Okay. This is the same thing that happens with geometric, negative binomial or exponential distribution. Okay. So in exponential distribution, if you have something like expected value of x, where x follows, let's say, exponential distribution, where they are saying x is greater than a particular value, let's say 0.5. Okay, so you'll have to convert your distribution in such a way that your 0.5 to infinity is going to follow an exponential distribution. Same way we have done here, that our 3 to infinity is following a geometric distribution. So all I had to do was shift my value by that many to get the expected value. Okay. So expected value of x given x is greater than 2 would look like something like this. It would be summation for all values of x, where we are saying x into probability of x is equals to x given x is greater than 2. Okay, so for all values of x is greater than 2, therefore x is starting from 3 and going till infinity. That would be x into joint probability and x is greater than 2 upon probability that x is greater than 2. Okay, and here you will get probability. See, x is equals to x and x is greater than 2, and because we have taken x going from 3 to infinity, is just probability of x, okay, upon probability of x greater than 2. Okay, this is what I was saying. It is going to be nothing but 6 divided by 1 minus 1 by 6 whole square. Actually, I don't know if it is going to be 6. Whatever expected value we are going to get, we'll have to calculate here. So this is going to be nothing but our expected value of x minus, you can say x is equals to 1 and x is equals to 2. So we'll have probability of x is equals to 1 minus 2 times probability of x is equals to 2 divided by probability x greater than 2. Okay, you can do the same thing here as well. 1 minus probability x is equals to 1 probability x is equals to 2. So expected value is 6 minus 1 by 6 minus, this will be 2 into 5 by 6 into 1 by 6 upon you can see we are getting 8. Why don't we multiply by 2 in the denominator? Now see, what I have done is, why have I multiplied 2 in the denominator? Because that, see, expected value of x does not start from x is equals to 3. It starts from x is equal to 1. So therefore I have subtracted x 1 into probability of 1 and also 2 into probability of 2. That is the, I have taken extra values in expectation, right? That is why I have subtracted these values. Here this is nothing but probability x greater than 2, so I am removing 1 and I am removing 2. Okay, or you can also say for geometric distribution this is nothing but 1 minus theta raised to 2 as well. Okay, it's basically the same. So anyways, I did not obviously I am not expecting you to do this in the examination. Just remember, for geometric distribution you can shift it like this, but for other distributions, see, this works only for geometric, negative binomial or exponential. Okay, but not directly shifting. If you want to find expected value, this is the method of finding expected value. Shifting only works in geometric or negative binomial, does not work in exponential. In exponential you will have to solve it like this. Okay, just give me 1 minute. Okay, okay, so this becomes expected value, conditional expectations. Now I am not expecting them to give you very complicated questions, for one reason, because the examination, they know this is the first time you are writing in Word. They will not expect you to solve very elaborate type of questions in Word. Okay, they know that we'll get confused what to write and what to not write in the Word. So I am expecting them to give you simpler questions than usual. So I am expecting easier paper, but do not expect a lot easy. We should always prepare for difficult paper. Okay, so this becomes on nothing but conditional expectation. Is there any other doubt in conditional expectation? Because I am expecting them to give you simpler questions in conditional expectation. Okay, now we'll take a break of 15 minutes. We'll meet back at 10:15. Okay, we'll take a break and we'll come back at 10:15. So basically 14 minutes break, and we'll continue after that. Okay.